This morning's Thought for the Day speaker, it's Dr. Francis Collins, the former director of the US National Institute of Health, one of the world's foremost medical research centres.
Francis Collins is an interesting case because he is a genuine scientist and a Christian. He seems to have been able to adopt what I think it was Stephen Jay Gould first described as non-overlapping magisteria. Different compartments in your brain that you can switch on and off.
I recently took part in a podcast about God and the pandemic. Afterwards, an elderly church member sent me a question. "I've prayed for God to protect me from COVID," she said. "So if I take the vaccine, doesn't that mean I don't really trust in God?"
That's the argument for letting Jesus take the wheel and not insuring church property or even putting lightning conductors down the sides of steeples.
Evangelical Christians have been among the most hesitant to accept vaccines, and I don't want to dismiss that church member's concerns. You see, I too trust in God. I am a scientist and a physician, but 45 years ago, as a medical student confronted with suffering and death, I couldn't find answers from science about the meaning and purpose of life.
So you seem to be making an assumption that there is an external meaning or purpose to life. This is not very scientific. This is wishful thinkianity.
After a 2-year struggle, I became a follower of Jesus. I've spent my entire scientific career searching out answers to how life works and how to prevent and treat disease. It may surprise you, but I've never encountered a situation where my scientific and spiritual worldviews are in conflict.
This is the non-overlapping magisteria that I was talking about. By the way, what is a spiritual worldview?
In fact, I find them to be remarkably harmonious. As the director of the National Institutes of Health, I've seen all of the tools of science brought to bear on this, the worst pandemic in more than a century. With many of my colleagues, I've worked 100 hours a week, desperate to alleviate the terrible suffering and death we have seen across the globe.
A sincere thank you for that, Francis. We owe you a big debt.
I've also prayed for answers. And when, just over a year ago, the rigorous clinical trials to test the vaccines revealed an astounding 95% protection against infection, I confess that I cried.
It was fantastic. A tribute to you and your staff.
And then I gave thanks to God.
Was your God on the payroll too? I didn't know.
That scientific result was built on decades of research and an intense effort of scientists in every sector to work together. But it was also an answer to prayer.
How was it an answer to prayer? Non sequitur fallacy alert.
For me as a Christian, that is often how God answers prayer, by working through human endeavor. Does that make those answers any less wondrous? I don't think so. For me, science is a way of understanding God's creation. The laboratory is not so different from the cathedral.
But would you have got the vaccine without your team and its premises, only with the cathedral? I doubt it.
So to the earnest church member, I say, your prayers have been answered. God has given you a gift in the vaccine.
William of Ockham, of razor fame, must be turning in his grave.
But you have to open the gift, give thanks, and then roll up your sleeve. Blessings for the new year. As we sing, we'll take a cup of kindness yet. Yes, let it be a year of kindness, gentleness, and a determination to seek the truth in all things.
That was Thought for the Day with Dr. Francis Collins.